Well, good morning, all. It's the 5th of August. It's well over a week since I left everyone back home in Wales, in Chepstow. And this is going to be a slightly longer video than the ones I've done previously. The ones I did previously were just a check-in and also to give a great thanks to those who had helped me and hosted me along the way, especially during my time in England. Things are a bit different now. I'm in France. I don't know the language all particularly well. Hopefully by the time I leave France, I will be somewhat more competent. But it's a whole new different world of trust and understanding that is required. As many of you know, I started this journey as a pilgrimage of hope and a trust in the kindness of others. And I've certainly experienced that since my time in England, but that was a little bit easier because I knew people and I knew people who knew people, and I was able to organize my whole walk there without too much problem. And I'm ever grateful for all my hosts there. However, coming to France, it's a whole new different world. And like I say, I'm not particularly competent in the language at all, very touristy French. And I've had to develop a whole new level of trust, which has been proved fruitful. Who would have thought that God is good and God goes ahead of you? In my first night here, I needed to find somewhere. I wasn't able to get too far as I've started to develop a bit of an injury, which is causing me to go quite slow now. But I was able to convince a motel manager to give me a room for the evening, which I'm ever grateful for. But as many of you will have seen, the second day I was in France, I came upon a small town called Pottery, and all those wonderful photos that you have seen from my time spent in Pottery with Sandrine and her family. The story, I took a leaf out of the recent gospel where Jesus sends out the 12 disciples into the 70, can't remember what, both are very similar, where he instructs them to, as they enter a town, to offer one's peace to that town. And if that town is receptive, that your peace will remain with them. And if they're not receptive, it will come back. Fortunately for me, Sandrine and her family, and Marie and Françoise, my peace remained with them. As I entered the town, I stood by the town sign and prayed a prayer of peace upon the town of Pottery. And then I wandered into the middle of and sat on a bench. And I happened to be sitting on a bench outside of Sandrine's new house with her and her husband have purchased and are currently renovating. It's a big old farmhouse, beautiful, beautiful building. It's going to look wonderful, but it's a heck of a lot of work that they have to do. And they just invited me in. The little cards that I'd made and done in French worked wonders as it helped explain what I was doing and what I was all about. And then they just welcomed me in with loving arms and lots of wine and food, and at the end of the evening, even some vodka, because Pottery has a large community of people whose ancestry is often Polish, because they came over during the 20s to help with the mining industry. So that's Sandrine's family background as well. And it just goes to, it really encouraged me that I'm not completely barking mad, as many of you have suspected, that I can trust in both God and in the goodness of other people, that at the core and at the center of us, I've long held that we are first and foremost created in God's image, and therefore, first and foremost, we have original goodness. And sometimes life can shape and alter that and distort that goodness. But in the heart of all of us, I still think that most of us seek to be good people, to be kind people, to be generous people. And when given the opportunity to show such kindness, we often step up to the mark. And I can say that Sandrine and Marie and Francois did that in spades. They showed such kindness. And I can now consider them family. They're no longer strangers. I hope they were okay with that, Sandrine and Marie and Francoise and the rest of the family. But that's how I see it. And it's really elevated and given me encouragement for the rest of my trip. The main problem for me at the moment is I have quite a painful shin injury. I don't know how I sustained it. I think it might have been because I did walk into quite a thick bush during one of my off-road wanders, and that seems to be aggravated, and it means that I am walking quite slowly at the moment. Which brings me on to another aspect of the spiritual journey. There is something about walking at very slow paces, often, sometimes with considerable constant pain, that sharpens the mind and opens the soul, really. Walking, 6 to 8 hours a day with no one to talk to is quite a monotonous act. It's quite a meditative act, because of that, is that after the first half hour or so of the morning, you start to lose the your thoughts start to slow down and to stop, really, in many ways. All those thoughts about what the day is to hold sort of just disappear, and you start to be in this quietness and this stillness and in this rhythm of walking. And occasionally it's punctuated by a thought or a desire. I often go for half an hour or an hour without recognizing any main thought in my head. Maybe that's because I haven't got much there, but and then something will just come to mind which will prompt me to pray, whether it's for the people who have put me up or people who have asked me to pray along the way. Their names will come before me, and I will offer my prayer for that person or those people at that time. As you know, one of the things that I hope for in this world, this pilgrimage of hope, is of a just and peace and loving world. And so often the thoughts of the people in Gaza and in the West Bank come to mind. And I will sit and pray with them. As I walk, I will pray for them in my mind. And I know that for many things I can't influence or alter what is happening over there, but I trust that my prayers reach the people there, and they get some sense that there are people in this world who are deeply concerned for them and are doing whatever they can within their sphere of influence to change what is happening. But it also, again, changes me, the prayer. In my prayers for such a disastrous and horrible situation such as Gaza, and drawing myself and allowing myself to engage with the suffering of other people in such a way. Hopefully, even though I might not be able to materially affect the individual lives of the people in Gaza or in the West Bank at this moment in time, I believe it makes me more attentive and more aware of the people in my immediate proximity. It changes me, I trust that it makes me more attentive to the needs and of those who I have got contact with, who I might be able to actually affect some positive input in to help alleviate someone's suffering or pain local to me. You might be able to tell me whether, when I get back from Italy in a few months' time, whether that actually has happened or not. You can let me know whether I am more attentive, more aware, more willing to engage in the needs of other people's lives. I think that's perhaps the most important thing we can do with each other. I'm also hoping that it will enable me to, in the act of trusting others to supply my needs, that it makes me more receptive to other people's offers of support to me in my regular everyday life. I think one of the things we can often find ourselves doing is blocking other people from helping us. Whether that's through pride or shame or whatever it might be. But that are some of the things that I've been thinking about and experiencing so far, particularly in France. It's only been a few days, but the total reliance on complete people who have been till this point complete and utter strangers to me, who don't speak my language necessarily, and I don't speak theirs, has been quite a remarkable experience. And long may it last. It has increased my trust in God, which is wonderful. It reminds me of that wonderful passage in Matthew chapter 6 in the Sermon on the Mount, where Jesus says, don't worry about what you're going to eat or drink or wear or any of those sorts of things. God's got that sorted. If God can feed the birds of the air and clothe the grass of the fields or flowers of the fields, how much more is he going to look after us? And he does that through other people. We are all his hands and his feet in this world. And so I know this perhaps is a bit more rambling, but these are some of the thoughts, some of the experiences, some of the spiritual aspects I've experienced so far on this journey. And it's been quite overwhelming. So thanks for listening. Thanks for following. It's been wonderful to see how many of you have maintained a keen interest in what I'm doing. I'm hoping that my injury on my left shin won't get too much worse. It's pretty darn painful at the moment, but I'm hoping that I might be able to rest it up for a few days and see whether that will help me. If not, I might have to adjust some of my plans in regards to how I go about things until it does heal, because walking on an injury doesn't always make it better. And so we'll see. I'll keep you updated on that one. But I would value your prayers as I continue my walk to Rome. God bless.